Alright, so this is gonna be my first video. I've done other videos, but they're about music, or me making music. This one right here is because I realized that the people that I'm distributing my music to, just whoever receives it, may not know me personally, and I think that people should get to know me. I mean, why else would they want to listen to my music if they don't relate to me? And because of that, I'm doing this video, and probably many others to come. And I thought earlier to myself about something that I thought was pretty profound, so I decided to make that the topic. Because not only is it a profound topic, but it's a topic that I can relate to personally. It's very personal. But and I'm sure there's many that can out there, and they'll need to hear this from somebody, even if it's not me, because they'll hear. Sometimes you hear something all the time inside of yourself, but until you hear it come out of somebody else's voice, you're saying to yourself, the same thing over and over. Then you hear it from somebody else, and you're like, yes, that's it, and it does something to you. The power of empathy is amazing. When somebody can relate to what you're saying, and that's what makes music so powerful. Knowing that somebody can relate to words that you put down on paper that tugged on your heart changes you, because it frees you little by little. And I'm a lot more emotional than I lead off to be, So I'm trying not to get too sentimental on this. But it's a real topic. And that topic is freedom versus conformity. In other words, individuality versus inclusion. Now, what does that mean? I can either be free or conform. I can either be an individual or be included. What does that mean? Well, from my understanding, and what I mean by it, is that in this world, you have two options. And you almost have two people in you. You have who you are, I have me, and I have who I was programmed to be, who I was trained to be, who I was raised to be, who I was socialized to become, and I think that those two are two completely different people. And I think the best way to actually express that is to talk about who we are as a child. Me personally, as a child, I was very into nature. I loved being loving, for one. Yeah. And I was curious, very curious. I was very right and wrong. I had a strong sense of justice in a very unjust environment at times. So with that being said, and I was very confident, super confident as a kid. And I'm becoming more of my kid self as life goes on. But I was just that type of kid that would throw on music choice and sing with a remote, like if I was doing my own little show in front of the TV, and really just putting myself in that moment. I could easily put myself in the moment of bliss. That was so easy. I could easily believe that I could sing. I could easily believe that, it's like kids, it's not even about believing for kids. They just do it. Hey, kids, let's get together and draw this or that. Kids get together and they draw this or that. They don't sit there and say, I'm going to try this. No, they just do it. Adults, we would say, I'm going to try. Let's see what I could do. This is this is decent. Then look at other people's, and they may even get discouraged by seeing other people's work. When children don't care, it could look like a farm to them and look like a squiggly line to everybody else, but it is that to them. And that brought them peace. And that there's so much vitality in doing something and feeling confident about it, feeling alive while you're doing it, and feeling proud after the fact. And being an artist, I realized that in this world, that's not always something that comes natural to people. And there's a reason why there's a million J. Cole's after J. Cole. There's a million Lil Babies after Lil Baby. There's a million everybody after everybody. because there's billions of people on this earth at a time, and people want to be included. And the best way to be included, ironically, it's so funny that I'm thinking about this now, is to follow the person that is an individual. And then once that person is created, people recreate that over and over. And that person that doesn't choose to recreate those other individuals, they're not embraced because they finally found something unique. Not at all. It's quite the contrary. When somebody does something unique, it's actually a threat to people that don't do that. And I've come to understand that the reason for that is that socializing. We've all, for the most part, been to school. And in school, you got a series of tests. You have a series of classes. And if you don't perform like the other kids, you're not good enough. They may not tell you that. You may not have a bold, in a way, cold teacher or parents that say you can do better all the time because you don't seem to be good enough. You may actually just see it on a paper and bring it home and maybe be embarrassed to bring it home. Or you could be a person that's proud and says, hey, look, I got these A's and B's and all that, and say, I must be awesome. And you get that support. There is a lot of support out there for some people to do what would be inclusive, what would help them become more of what society wishes them to be. So that child that isn't doing that kid that can't concentrate in class, sometimes even me, most of the time me as a child, is labeled things, silly things, things that they have to label you they have to diagnose you things in life, to give you medicine, to talk to insurances, to just call something so they can understand it. Because God forbid a human especially a collective group of humans doesn't understand something. They will either pull out their metaphorical pitchforks and hunt it down, or ostracize it. And these two things are what usually takes place for the free one, for the individual. The ones that are included, the inclusive ones, and what was that word I said in contrast to freedom? Conformed ones, they're embraced, they're supported, because there's no reason not to. There was this thing that I did in senior year where we had to come up with something, and the whole thing about it was to do a little documentary about it, and an interview. So I decided that I was going to do amongst me and my peers. It was just something that I was cooking up inside. So if I'm not mistaken, I suggested it, and they rolled with it. They were like, yeah, you know what? That's interesting, because we're at senior year. What's going to happen next? What is this life thing about? Because nobody's telling us, right? Nobody's telling us. Everybody's doing it, but nobody's talking about it for the most part. And we decided to do it on self-actualization. What is that? What is it to me? What is it to you? What is it to someone you love? What is it to someone you don't even know? What is it to my family, my friends? The people that I think are my friends. What is it to my fans? What is it to people that may not be happy about me making music? What is it to anybody is my point. I'm just using these references so you can personalize it, so you can think about it in multiple dimensions. Self-actualization to me was always an inside thing. And it's not necessarily how can I feel good, but I think more so, how can I feel good about me in this world? How can I feel good about what I contribute to this world? And I found early on that what I contribute to this world that made me feel good was making others feel good, for sure. Healing, You know, whether that be just taking care of a pet, taking care of somebody that I happened to run into that was having a bad day. Just healing in any way I could. It wasn't like I forced it. It was a natural thing, you know, just to be a light in a dark place. And I think that not only was the essence of who I was, but was a byproduct of holding on to hope. And somewhere along the lines of being a child, being an adolescent, adult, and a teenager, you know, right around that mix, especially when we're about to walk out the door into real life and realize what is life, never mind the real one. You know, the one without people there to support me in any type of way, financially, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. If you're lucky enough for somebody to have looked that deep into the abyss of the unknown for you prior, well, we start to lose ourselves. We start to lose ourselves looking for validation. Validation in our brothers and sisters, our parents, our friends, our teachers. And man, what a world do we live in right now, as opposed to when I was a child. When I was a kid, we had Sidekick phones and Blackberries, and that was like iPhones and Galaxies. So we didn't have social media the way we do now. And even when we did, we had MySpace. You could customize it. You could be unique on there. Now everybody's page just about looks the same. And then you go to the things that could make them unique, and for the most part, they necessarily don't. I go on there, and this is purely observation. So how anybody feels about this is completely out of my control, and it forever will be with anything I say or do in this world. All I control is what I say or do. So anyways, I noticed that a lot of people do what the next person does. That chain message hits a lot of people before it gets to you. That post of a certain position that female's making has been through multiple females before it got to her and before it got to your eyes. That flex that guy did, not the one I just did. That's a little different. That's me. But you know, like in a sense, like, check me out with this car. Check me out with this type of outfit that you might not be able to afford. Check me out. Feel me? I mean, you know what? For instance, this chain. I got this because I just always wanted a chain. And I love gold. Nothing to do with how people would really feel about me. It was more about how I feel about myself. And for me, it was important because I didn't grow up always having nice things. So when I bought myself a nice thing, I realized I had to accept that I can have nice things. I didn't really grow up in a world where the people in my close vicinity had nice things. I grew up in project apartments and things like that. My parents did the best they could. But the environment I grew up in wasn't the most fortunate. And because of that, when I did have things, I didn't know how to feel. I had never known what jealousy was. Nobody had a reason to be jealous of me at one time. I think the first time I really felt jealousy, or you know what, maybe it was there for inside things that I had, because spiritual gifts are way more than what this world can offer. And innately, people, whether they know it or not, pick up on that spiritually. They do, energetically. They really do. It's the reason why people are bullied for being different. You know? And, yeah, it was when I was, like, senior year. I got into this car accident junior year. And because of that car accident, I received a lump sum of money. And I made my choices with that money. And everybody, especially if they're older than me, had an idea of what they would have done with that money. And for some reason, all of their ideas was better than mine. And when I finally did what I did with that money, I realized there was nobody around. But before that, everybody was around to give me ideas. Where were the ideas that I needed for how I can become more me? You know? Where were those ideas? Side note. I don't want this video to be too long. So let me get to a point. I started to notice that when I had a nice car, when I had this chain, when I stopped looking ugly because I was hit for a while. I grew up real late, like I probably look a lot younger than I am. And at one time, I did not have any type of attraction that the outside world would have wanted, would have even anticipated. I should have that. Maybe just a little swag, a little steeziness. But that's when I noticed that people really cared about these things a lot. And it's not the individual. It's the inclusive crowd that cares about the way things look. Man, I'm sorry. This video is going to have to be at least 30 minutes. I don't know. We'll find out. But these things, how you look became so important to the inclusive crowd as I got older because of social media, because of people that weren't allowed to express themselves finally had a chance to show their culture. Black and Hispanic music popping, hella popping. We all know this. Not that any other music isn't fly. I listen to it all. But it's popping. And we started to really get to show out and make money from showing out. Which is funny because that even to me, as somebody that never really cared about those things, was just felt free watching Eminem be able to not think about those things but talk about his past was powerful for me as somebody that was going through what I hoped would become my past and shall become my past, because there is a time and place for every season. Drake, all these people, I used to look at them and be like, wow, like at Lil Wayne especially, come on now, 50 Cent, it's like, wow, these people get to express themselves and they get to be blessed for it. And somewhere along the lines, looking blessed became expressing yourself. Being an individual, that one guy to make it out, became more of a physical thing than it was an inside thing. These famous people that you see that became legends, it's very obvious that they did not have it good growing up. So when they made it out, they started shining the same way they did before. They just got dusted off, watered, clean, clean. Their spirit was cleaner. They were refined through the fire, and they made it to where they wanted to be in life. That, I would say, is self-actualization. Now, at the bottom of the pyramid, right? What's supposed to be there is food, shelter, water, things like that. And then it builds on to, I don't know, friends, family, a sense of community. And then it goes further into expression, a dream. And then it goes to your ultimate dream, just like an ultimate best person you could imagine should be at the top of that list. But now the ultimate best person you could imagine yourself to be, for the most part, in the majority of this society, is looking the best. You know who that excludes? I don't know if you noticed them. Because for the most part, the people that really glow up, like these people you see on TV, they are those people that were unacknowledged, chastised for self-love. Because why would they love themselves when they don't look like the rest, they don't act like the rest, they don't talk like the rest, they don't do what the rest does? Why would they? But still they do. And yeah, can I put myself there? Can I say that I feel like that's me too? Yeah. That's why I don't talk to many people. This is why I suck at keeping in contact with people I love. Because people I love, from family to friends to just being on social media and communicating with my fans. This is one of the reasons why I'm doing this too. It's a struggle for me as a human, because in always being an individual, a loving individual, who saw myself as someone who could achieve more than the people around me, I received a lot of judgment. I received either the pitchforks or the ostracizing, and sometimes even both. So I guess the reason for me making this video is to talk about that's real. That it's really a struggle. A struggle that turns into a journey. And that journey, I'm realizing now, is life. My life is not at the end of this road. My self-acceptance is not at the end of this video. It's not the end of a song or a project or a verse that I wrote down or a moment of my expression. It is not there. It's within the expression. It's within this video of me doing this where my problems and the rest of the world melt away. Where I'm being a human being. I hate being a human wanting to be. That is probably the most heart-aching, gut-wrenching feeling there is to want to be who you are. You know, and I keep myself there. Like, too much. Way too much. And that's not why I keep myself from people. I realize I keep myself away from people because it allowed me to be that without people pulling out those pitchforks, without people that I love and as a child wish they would have accepted me, starting to ostracize me. But I'm at this point in my life where that doesn't matter. The jig is up. I no longer care what people think or feel about me as much as I used to. And nor do I want to. I hope that by the time I'm an old man and I'm past my stage of achieving what I wanted and helping as many as I can and I lose my vitality, you know, physically, that I don't give a fuck how I look anymore. I don't care that I just cussed. I don't care that I've made mistakes, things that I used to wish nobody would find out about. That, man, I don't want to be famous because I don't want people to know I did this or I did that or I have that type of past. You know, I don't want to go on social media and be somebody that says, I love God in a way that drives me, you know? With so much drive that people would say it drove me crazy. I want to be that person that didn't care, that lived however I chose to live, inside, unapologetically, unadulterated, not watered down. And I want to be that person that inspires other people to do that. That person that doesn't have it good at home, dreads going home. That person that hates going to school. I've been to 5 high schools, 4 middle schools. You think I like school after the second or third one? I'm always the new guy. I don't care much about much when it comes to the social hierarchies. I walk into a building and I read the social hierarchy because I'm perceptive, but I don't care. And that gets me in trouble with, you know, your alphas, your established alpha people, with those people that are supposed to be dominant and those people that are supposed to be submissive, because people that are submissive within that inclusive group are like, man, why does he think he's so fucking special? And then people that are dominant in those areas, they're like, oh man, he thinks he's gonna surpass me, surmount me, male or female. There's all types of people that are like that, you know? Don't let nobody do that to you. Don't let nobody knock you out your body. You know how I said in the beginning that there was 2 of you inside of you? There's that person that allowed the world to tell you who you are so you could fucking survive in it. And then there's that person inside of you that was always there and will always bother you and always poke at you until you let him out. And this video, for me, this whole process of me making music has been letting him out. Because Bellows Thieves, what does that mean? Beautiful style with thieves. The reason why I made that name is because Bello, my last name, wasn't always a respected name in certain places, and it has a dark history. And I wanted to bring light to that. That's why I call myself the King of Light sometimes, because I just love being bright. Like the sun. The sun doesn't ask the moon to shine. It doesn't ask anybody to shine. And we need it to. And it's going to shine if it rains, snows, no matter what goes on, it will shine anyways. And that's who I need to become. That's who you need to become. Maybe not that person that the world created you to be, but that person that is screaming inside of you. Let me out. Let me write that play. Let me be an actor. Let me dance. Let me sing. Let me do whatever I feel I want to do, because I'm only going to have this opportunity to do it. And I don't want to be old and regretful. I don't want to raise my kids knowing that I didn't give it my all in life. Because I want to know I healed everything that I had inside me for as much as I could. And no matter how much more healing I had to do, I continue to be who I know I really am. So if you're that person that feels you either have to be free or conform, be free. If you can't give yourself permission as somebody that purely loves you, no matter who you are, be free. If you're that person wondering if you should be included, because as humans, we don't want to be alone. Be an individual. Oh yeah. And if they don't like it, just keep flexing. Because you don't even know you're doing it. When you're doing what you love, you don't know you're flexing on people that wish they could do that. So if you're meek in heart, don't let that stop you. People are going to be miserable if they want to be miserable. People are going to be passionate and joyous about life if they wish to do so. They're going to have faith if it's in them, if they live with faith, if they live in faith, if they live through faith. And you can't change that. I'm not going to change many people. I'm just going to remind people who they are. A lot of them. I'm going to wake them up. My steez, style with these, my beautiful style with these, is to provoke the weak. Is to provoke those people that shelled over and hollowed out so that way they could survive and be accepted by people they care so dearly about. Because we got to break free. If this world as a collective is going to break free and let go of who we used to be to survive so that way we may thrive, that is what we have to do. God bless you. And thanks for listening.